Yo, 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 yo. T-O-K. T-O-K. Ty Butler in the house. NBA trade deadline is today. We are a matter of 6.5 hours shy of the NBA trade deadline. I got my Jet sweatshirt on, even though we're talking basketball. I don't know. It just felt appropriate. It felt appropriate. I guess like it's the first time in maybe a year or so that like you laid your head down at night if you're a Jet fan. And hit me up in the comments if you're on YouTube or on Twitter. Hit me up in the comments. Laid your head down and you felt like, all right, that today wasn't catastrophic, wasn't a total disaster. You get the Frank Reich hiring veteran, head coach, offensive play caller. Here's my struggle, and we'll get to basketball. How do we feel? And this is an open question to you guys. How do we feel about hiring someone who is like, yeah, thought I was gonna retire? Because that is almost similar to Aaron Rodgers. Now, Aaron Rodgers, I don't think was actually gonna retire, but when you are bringing someone into your place of employment and they are being asked to do a pretty important job, right? Like it's a significant job. And part of the conversation was, yeah, man, 1 foot out the door, I was planning on retiring. Like, how encouraged do we feel about that hiring? But anyway, Frank Reich, Jet offensive coordinator. So they at least have some hope this offseason. Now we'll see how it pans out. Need your quarterback, need to fill out the rest of the staff. But, the first time in a minute you go to bed at night as a Jet fan, and you're not feeling like it's a total disaster because you somehow made a good decision. Speaking of good decisions, decisions will be made today. Knicks front office on the clock because we have seen the Pistons, the Celtics, and the Cavs all to varying degrees get better this week via trades. And we're wondering, are the Knicks going to do something? So the Cavs, we know, in a blockbuster added James Harden. I'm a Darius Garland fan, but, with back-to-back years dealing with the injuries, him being a small guard, and that backcourt of him and Mitchell just defensively was never going to work. Harden right now is a better player, and I think raises their ceiling. Now, ultimately, and I was arguing with Zach Noble of ballerslife.com on my show yesterday, ultimately, this comes down to what we all know is true, and James Harden is one of the biggest playoff chokers in the history of the league. So no one's going to take the Cavs seriously, but in theory, it should raise their ceiling. The Pistons added Huerter, Dario Saric, and that gives them some shooting. They also added Keon Ellis. No, the Cavs, I'm saying, added Keon Ellis. I'm just like remembering the trade. The Cavs added Keon Ellis, so that helps them defensively. The Pistons get Huerter and Saric, so that gives them some shooting. And then uh, we're just monitoring what's left of trade deadline season because moves are being made. I don't really feel like getting too much into the Kaminga thing. It's like finally that situation is over. Um, but I guess it takes them out of the Giannis sweepstakes. Um, Vucevic goes to the Celtics. That helps their front court depth, gives them some scoring. He is going to be attacked defensively, but a guy who can score and rebound in the front court, good for them. The Warriors add Kristaps Porzingis. So a lot of these like moves being made, you're wondering, like what's the deal there? Jaren Jackson Jr. going to Utah. Anthony Davis going to the Wizards. It's a bunch of like just names being moved to places where you didn't expect, but it's what we love about the league, right? Trade deadline brings some surprises. Let's talk about the Knicks. That win last night, incredible. And it's not, a hot take to say it's the best win of the season when you consider the circumstances. When you consider the circumstances, it's the night before the trade deadline. Their very next game is going to be in Detroit, big test against the Pistons. They're without Josh Hart. They're without Miles McBride. They are like the Nuggets on the second night of a back-to-back. They, in the third quarter, now it's not insurmountable, but they were trailing by 7, right? Jamal Murray's going off. I don't think Jokic played that well, and you'll see the stat line say that what did he end up with? A 30-point triple-double, Nikola Jokic, 30, 14, and 10. In 45 minutes, they had a minutes restriction on him, but you go to double overtime. At that point, you're just trying to win the game. Despite and this speaks to how great Jokic is, despite the 30, 14, and 10 performance, I didn't think he played all that well. There were some like key rebounds he missed. Defensively, he was a mess, and he's not a good defensive player, but it cost him on that end. And the 1 of 13 from 3, I thought was a product of a couple of things. One was Jokic is not back into his game shape, right? Like he's not peak Jokic. He's still working his way back. It also was, and this is where you got to give a lot of credit to Mike Brown inserting Mitchell Robinson. Now, in the end, the cat foul trouble and him fouling out helped the Knicks. But Mitchell Robinson is one of the most important players in the Eastern Conference when it comes to the postseason because he is such a game changer. He's a series wrecker. And that performance defensively last night where he's got a couple of like really good contests on Jokic who gets him deep into the paint and does that spin move thing where every other defensive player guarding Jokic is going to fall for one of the fakes and Jokic is going to get an easy layup. Mitchell Robinson held his ground and locked him up. He obviously had the big steal on Jamal Murray, who was cooking last night. Murray ended up with 39, 5, and 6. And Mitch got him on a switch and locked him up. But part of why Jokic goes 1 of 13 last night was because when Mitchell Robinson is on him, Mitchell is so strong and lengthy that it's hard to just back him down. So Jokic just ends up settling for those jumpers. And again, that's credit to Mitchell Robinson. Part of that is Jokic isn't in the shape that he's going to be in later in the season. But Mitchell Robinson's a game changer, man. And I thought last night, what he end up 23 minutes, 10 points, 8 rebounds, but the biggest impact he had was on defense. And I thought Cat, for as well as he played, 24 and 12, and he was 9 of 13, hit a couple threes. I thought him fouling out was bad news for the Nuggets. When Towns goes out of the game last night, I thought, well, there goes the Nuggets' chances because if you're Mike Brown, it's such a quandary. You're battling, I need Cat's offense because when Cat's not on the floor, we become a Jalen Brunson or bust offense. Now, Jalen Brunson last night was terrific. After a couple of subpar games, he was extraordinary. Gave you 42, 8, and 9. So he was just everywhere, right? But when Cat's not on the floor, teams can just blitz Jalen, and now you're relying on, and it's not that they can't hit shots, OG Bridges and then Shamit, who's just been on fire, but you're relying on those guys to hit shots as opposed to being able to trust, I've got another all NBA guy in Cat who could create his own offense. So you're battling that with, man, he's just such a liability on defense. When Cat's in the game, Jokic can just pounce on him. Whereas Mitchell Robinson comes in and Jokic obviously can't do that, so he's just hoisting up threes. Here's a pivotal play in the officiating was a disaster. The officiating in that game was just a train wreck. So, biggest spot, and it's overtime. I want to pull up the tripping call that ended up getting overturned, but it was consequential. I want to try to pull up the video. People saw it, but I want to like work our way through it. So that overturned call, who was it? OG? They called the tripping on OG, right? I'm gonna try to pull it up. Hang on, y'all. Rock with me here, vibe with me. And Christian Brown. We'll get it. I have it here. All right, I've got it. It's like loading, but it's not. But anyway, you guys remember the play, the tripping call that happened. Was that at the end of the first overtime or was it the end of the second? It was the end of the first overtime. And I thought, man, this is like pivotal for the Nuggets. The bad call, even though it got overturned, ends up hurting them because it left them without timeouts. And it also allowed the Knicks to put Mitchell Robinson back into the game. And Mitch ends up getting the steal on Jamal Murray on that ensuing possession. So that was a monumental mistake by the refs that, even though it got overturned, hurt Denver. But the Knicks get a lot of credit, man. Last night was impressive, the best win of the season. And this comes in a year where, yes, we've seen them opening night beat the Cavs. We've seen them beat the Celtics. We've seen them rack up some pretty impressive wins during this stretch where they've won 8 straight games. That Philadelphia win I thought was incredible. Pounding Toronto the way that they did. I was at the Laker game. That defense in the second half was extraordinary. The wins against the Spurs. And so the resume is elite for the Knicks, but last night, second night of a back-to-back, down 2 key players. Brunson goes off. Cat fouls out. You had Mitchell Robinson's defensive presence in the midst of Jokic statistically going off, even though I didn't think that to his standards he played very well. And then Jamal Murray was just cooking. Bridges was awful. He has a bad foul at the end of regulation. That was a disaster. And so when you put all of that into the batch, it cooks up to be what I thought was the best win of the season. Kevin Zwicker says deadline playing out perfectly for the Knicks. They are cooking and it looks like Giannis is staying put for now. Yeah, absolutely. Now, barring some shocking trade that happens today, because it looks like the Warriors are out, right? It doesn't look like the Knicks are in either right now. So it's going to come down to Minnesota and Miami pushing all their chips in and trying to find a deal that pacifies the Bucks and what they're looking for. And barring something like that happening, Giannis is in Milwaukee the rest of the season. You can watch the rest of the year play out for the Knicks. They get to the offseason and now they have a better trade package, and you can go out and get him, because if we're to believe what Giannis is saying is true and that he wants to be a Knick, then he'll force the issue this offseason where he's got 1 year left on his contract. So you're right, man. Excellent point. This is playing out perfectly because they're on an 8-game win streak. They've racked up some impressive wins against the Sixers, who have beaten them twice, against the Raptors, who were rolling, the Lakers, who had the same record as them, and then last night against the Nuggets, who are a contender, legitimate contender, though they're dealing with injuries. Gordon, Cam Johnson. The Knicks were dealing with injuries themselves. And so the way that the Knicks have looked during this stretch, and on top of the fact you have Giannis, it looks like isn't going anywhere. It's the perfect storm. Like, you could not have asked for a better sequencing of events if you're a Knicks fan. Hit us up in the chat. We want to hear from you. Whether you're joining us via YouTube, you are here on Twitter. We're just reacting to what I thought was just a phenomenal game last night. The officiating stunk. And far too often we have to recap what was a bad officiating night across sports. But that notwithstanding, I thought incredible win for the Knicks. And you're just hoping and praying 6 hours from now, you get the notification Giannis is staying in Milwaukee. The Bucks have not found a trade partner, so they're going to roll this thing out. I think the Cavs got better. The Pistons, big test tomorrow night. We are all amped to watch that game. Tomorrow night in Detroit should be a doozy. The Pistons, what's the spread on that? What's the spread on that game? Go to ESPN. Look at the spread. Knicks Pistons tomorrow night in Detroit. They don't have a number yet? That can't be right. Pistons, last time the Knicks were in Detroit, waxed them. But the Knicks are playing their best ball of the season. So there's no spread for that game yet. And we don't know the availability of Josh Hart. It looks like Miles McBride is going to be out of that game. But I'm excited for that one. Big test. And it's a perfect spot for Detroit to be in. Let me just make the case for the Pistons real quick, even though I know most people on here watching are Knicks fans. It's the perfect spot for the Pistons because regardless of what happens the rest of the way, I shouldn't say no one. There aren't going to be a ton of people who anoint the Pistons as the best team in the Eastern Conference because they don't have the experience. They don't have the pelt on the wall. And I think that's fair critique. That's a fair criticism. It's no fault of anyone, but what JB has done with that group, they went from a 17-win team to going toe-to-toe in round one with the Knicks last year. And by the way, if Brunson doesn't hit that shot, could have very well pushed that to a game 7 at the Garden. And then anything can happen in a game 7. But because the Pistons and led by Cade, who's a young phenom, but just doesn't have playoff success, there's not much they can do during the regular season that is going to have the masses gravitate toward elevating them as the conference favorites. Because we have seen the Knicks in the conference finals. And, the Celtics, if they get Tatum back, people are going to be like, all right, like we've seen them win a championship. But it's the perfect spot for the Pistons in this regard. They play the Wizards tonight. They'll roll the Wizards. Even though the Wizards have become more interesting with Trey, with AD. Those guys are trying to lose. They want to keep their first-round pick. So the Pistons will be on the second night of a back-to-back. But they're at home for the Knicks tomorrow. A Knicks team coming in on an 8-game win streak. By the way, Detroit, you just go back the last 2 weeks, impressive wins over the Suns, over the Celtics, over Denver, over Golden State, and then over these Nuggets that the Knicks played last night. Impressive wins the last couple weeks. But it's the Knicks coming in on an 8-game win streak, and this is like a barometer game. And it's also a game that if we're asking who does it mean more to, it means more to Detroit because they have more to prove. So if you, after throttling the Knicks by 30 to start the new year, follow that up by beating them again, ending this win streak, then people are going to be buying a lot more stock into the Pistons, buying a lot more stock. And they'll be on the 19th of February in New York. Maybe I should go to that game to play the Knicks. So it's a couple times they'll play the Knicks in the next 2 weeks, which should be a lot of fun. But it's a big measuring stick, barometer type of game for Detroit. And if you're the Knicks, if the Knicks win this game tomorrow and they improve that streak to 9, you could almost erase what happened on January 5th. It's like, well, we were in the midst of our worst stretch of the season, weren't playing that well, we were dealing with injuries, but we got our payback, and we are also a team that has less to prove than the Pistons. So you start to see the narrative change a bit. If the Pistons win this game tomorrow, then it's like, all right, 8-game win streak was cool and all, but the team you're going to have to beat to get to the finals have now shown you twice they're better than you. And here's all you need to know about how great the Pistons have been this year. The Knicks are in an 8-game win streak. They're in an 8-game win streak. And despite that, they're still 6 games back of the Pistons for the number 1 overall seed. They're not catching them. The Knicks are as hot as you can possibly be. And they are still staring up at Detroit, 6 games behind them. And so I think the 1 seed's a wrap. And I've talked about this ad nauseum. It's very important to get that 1 seed because having been at the Garden a ton, but more specifically, being at the Garden the last half decade for those playoff games and being able to witness and experience just how much of a home court advantage it really is, man, I put a lot of value into that. Like, we call it the world's most famous arena. It's a big stage. Like, these teams fear coming into to the Garden. Nothing speaks to that more than how tough it is to play a road game there. And so I've put a lot of significance on getting the 1 seed. When people were just like, it doesn't really matter, the regular season, whatever, you can win in like the Knicks beat the Pistons 3 times in Detroit last year, and I understand that. But I'd still rather have pivotal games 5 and 7 at home as opposed to on the road, where we know these role players can just randomly get hot, like Mike Miller style, right? And so I think the Pistons are going to be the 1 seed. But man, is this game big tomorrow because it's a confidence, and I often try to like steer away from immeasurables. Heart. Like, this player and this team has a lot of heart. Like, how do we measure that? But sometimes you have to acknowledge the reality and how real it is, right? Like, there's a certain level of confidence the Pistons will get from beating the Knicks tomorrow and ending that win streak. And on the flip side, how devastating it would be if you're Detroit, you're sitting here at 37-12. You've already blown the Knicks out. They're now red hot. It's post-trade deadline, so hopefully if you're, Mike Brown, and if you're a Knicks fan and you've got such an emotional vested interest in this team, you're hoping that getting past the deadline can quell some of the anxiety and calm some of those emotions down, and now we can just focus on basketball. If you're Detroit and they come into your house and they beat you, the Pistons at home this year are 20-5. Let's take a look at who the Pistons have lost home games to this year. They've lost a home game to the Cavs. The Pistons started 15-2. Man. So their home losses are to the Cavs, the Magic, Miami, the Clippers, and the Rockets. Those are their home losses. But they're 20-5. They're the real deal. Cade's been extraordinary. He is going to be a first team all. He's going to be a first team All NBA guy, right? Cade's got to be first team All NBA this year. Yeah, he's got to be. I mean, they're the one. They're going to be the one seed, and he has been unbelievable. But the Pistons, they're loaded, man. They're tough, physical. Defensively, they get after it. And then this past offseason, they added some shooting with Duncan Robinson. And so, like, you really feel good about their ceiling, but it's ultimately going to come down to like big moments. Like, how do you think this team handles the challenge of big moments? And I thought last year they showed themselves to be a team that could handle it. Now, game one at the Garden, if you guys remember, they should have won. They had a fourth quarter lead that they blew, and I think the Knicks went on something like a 21-0 run, which it should never happen in the playoffs. Like, you should never allow that to happen. But there was some inexperience. Malik Beasley just fumbling the game away, and now people have their conspiracy theories about that. But they had proven themselves to be, yes, inexperienced, but could handle some of the big time moments. And then Jalen just hits a shot that, like, you can't guard any better if you're Ozzer Thompson. He scrapes you up. But this game tomorrow is big, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Kevin Zwicker, 96 times, and I could argue it's just as important for the Knicks to win, just show that there are levels to this. Here's the deal. My counter to that is, yes, it's obviously an important game for both teams from a psyche standpoint, from a confidence perspective, and also you still can catch them for the one seed. I don't think it's going to happen, but the significance of you're either going to be 7 games back or 5 games back, that's huge. As we hit the All-Star break, that's huge. 7 back, that's like insurmountable. Also because they now have taken the season serious. So it's really 8 games back. They only play one more time tomorrow. So it's very important for the Knicks. Standings wise, I think home court matters. From a confidence standpoint, psyche, all of that. But I think if we pose the question, who does this game matter more to? Who needs it more? Who needs home court more? Detroit. Who needs to show, improve it more, that they can beat the other team? Detroit. They're at home, where they've only lost 5 games there all season long. And they're playing, you could say the only team that we know right now is having a better year than Detroit is Oklahoma City. So they're the second best team in the NBA at home, where they barely lose. And now you have a Knicks team coming in that in years are different, but last year proved they can beat you in a playoff series. So there's a lot more to prove for the Pistons than the Knicks tomorrow night. It's a significant game for both teams, but I just think it matters more for Detroit. And I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun, man. Friday night in the Motor City. Let's get it popping, y'all. Let's get it popping. So the deadline is today. Do you guys want to see any moves made? Do y'all want to see any moves made? Or are you comfortable with where we are? If you're a Knicks fan, you want to see any moves made? Or are you just like, yo, we're winning. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Hopefully Giannis just doesn't get moved. And now we get to see this team, hopefully 100% healthy, go on a playoff run. Because it's also like, sometimes sports make you feel dumb. we talk about it every day, we consume it every day, so we are forced to react to what it is that we're seeing in real time, and sometimes those reactions are overreactions, which is why one of my favorite things to do is like during the football season, Monday morning, it's like, all right, like if I were doing a football show, I think a fun segment to do would be analysis or overreaction. Analysis or overreaction. Like, is my take a real analysis, or am I overreacting? And right now, it's easy to sit here and say, y'all were overreacting to the Knicks' struggles. They had lost 9 of 11 games. Their defense was comically bad. But the Knicks defender will say, it happens, man. It's a long season. We were dealing with injuries. Um, we're still not able to have one of our best players, Mitchell Robinson, play back-to-back games. There's all the trade noise. So it's probably, ultimately stunting the growth of this team, but we'll be fine. We trust and believe in this group. So to look back on people calling for Mike Brown to be fired, got to trade this guy, feels silly, but I think in real time, it was pointed, necessary criticism, valid criticism. Because when the expectations are this high, I don't when let me amend that for a moment. When the expectations are this high for a team that is unproven when it comes to meeting said expectations, I don't believe there is a such thing as an overreaction. If you are the defending champs, and we saw this happen a lot with the Warriors during that dynasty, they lose 3 straight. It's like, oh, is it time to panic? Well, I mean, they've only won the last couple of championships. Like, are we really going to panic? We think that there is an on-off switch. But when you have a group that has not proven they can do what we are expecting them to do, there is no, in my eyes, level of overreaction. Like, there's no such thing. We have to react to what we're watching. And maybe sometimes we go a little bit too nuts with it because, again, we are consuming it and talking about it every single day. But I thought that all of the criticism of the Knicks was fair. Because even throughout this win streak, it hasn't completely masked some of the fears. Cat was really good last night. But why is it that sometimes I watch games where he picks up his 3rd foul and he's got to go to the bench, and I'm like, well, this actually might be a good thing for the Knicks because of their defense being so much better when he's off the floor. And I don't got to worry about him flopping or not getting back on D or, just doing things to disrupt the flow of the game. He's a tremendously talented player, and he is going to be a key cog, a pivotal piece if they are to win a championship. The Knicks cannot win the title or win the conference if Cat's not a big part of it. But I had watched him during the stretch far too often look better with him off the floor, and I thought, man, that's a problem. Like, that's a huge concern for me. So it hasn't completely eradicated the Cat issue. Mikal Bridges, who did have a big 3 in that second overtime last night, and is clutch. But it's like, yo, we all thought you were going to be a lot better defensively. Your offense can come and go. It makes sense because when you're not heavily featured and you're not in rhythm, the offense is going to come and go. I get that. That makes more sense to me. The Knicks are going to Jalen Brunson. They're going to Cat. Josh Hart is more of a primary ball handler, especially out in transition. OG's got the rock. And then when these guys like Clarkson and Kolek come off the bench, they are operating as, scorers and distributors. So Bridges in an offense like that, it's gonna be hard to always be clicking. And we don't even have to be experts. Like you play pickup basketball, play a game where you go 4 or 5 straight possessions without getting a touch, and then be called upon to hit a wide open three. Like it's tough. So that part, it's like, all right, I don't love it, but at least I can understand it. Defensively, him just getting cooked. That part I don't get. I don't get that part at all. And so it hasn't been completely masked. I've still got my concerns about Bridges, and then you throw and the two guys I called out just now. I don't think it's a coincidence. Those are the two most linked to the trade rumors. It's not a coincidence. So maybe you get past 3 o'clock today, and they start to feel more comfortable. But again, like the trade rumors aren't going away because the story at 3 o'clock, if Giannis is still in Milwaukee, is going to be all right. We are just kind of kicking this can down the road, and we're gonna re-engage this offseason. Bridges and Cat, I'd say it's like a 50-50 proposition. They're not on the team past this next summer. And so that's still going to be in the back of their minds, like in big playoff moments. Yo, this could be my last game in New York. That's not going away. So I still have concerns about that. I still have concerns about the Cat and Brunson combo together defensively is just not good enough. And we saw last night a team like the Nuggets, smart, and they have the personnel to exploit the Knicks' deficiencies. We'll be able to do that. And in playoff series, like this, and I think that's what went wrong for Boston last year. And the similar. My bad, you guys lost me for a moment. Um, but I thought that the Celtics uh, went away from that, or didn't go away from their identity. And sometimes the situation calls for you to go to your away from your identity because like you have to try to win the game, and you got to win the game by being smart. But anyway, some of these better coached teams, and not that the Celtics are poorly coached. Missoula's awesome, But the well-coached teams that have the personnel to do it are going to be able to exploit the Knicks on defense, as we saw Denver trying to do last night. And there were moments in that game where I was like, why is Mike Brown allowing Shamet to guard Murray, who's cooking? He's on his way to 40 points. And Shamet's guarding him. Why? Well, now in retrospect, and because it worked, you can celebrate the brains behind the operation. I guess what Mike Brown was doing was saying, I don't want to tax OG too much by having him guard Murray all game because I need him offensively as well. So let's wait until critical moments late in this game. I'll throw him on Murray, and then we'll try to stop him that way. But even then, it's like, all right, let's just run this screen to get Brunson or to get Shamet matched up back on Murray. And the Knicks have these players on the floor who on offense are great, man. Like the dimension that Shamet's added to this offense, impeccable, extraordinary. Like since he's come back, he looks like the best shooter in the league. Like it's amazing. But you can attack him on defense. You can attack Brunson on defense. You can attack Cat on defense. So I'm just looking forward to seeing the chess match that is played between these teams when they go up against the Knicks, because the Knicks, I think, can be one of the best offenses in basketball. That three-point shot is lethal, and they get it everywhere. Brunson, obviously, Cat, OG, Bridges, even Josh Hart is a clutch three-point shooter. Shamet, Deuce when he's back. Clarkson, they've got a bunch of guys. Kolick. Like 99% of the team can hit threes. And that's what you want in this era of basketball. You want to build a 5-out lineup. But on the other side, you're going to have to get some stops. And that's going to be the biggest question for me. Going forward, do they have enough to get stops consistently on defense? Because offensively, they're one of the best teams in the NBA. Let me actually see where they rank offensively. Because we watch it, and it's like, man, like it's really hard to get back-to-back stops because their offense is just so good. But so let me take a look at their offensive rating. The Knicks are third. So the Knicks offensive rating only behind the Celtics and the Nuggets who they played last night, but it's a hair. The Knicks are a week away from being statistically the best offense in basketball. That's how close it is. Defensive rating, they're 13th. So that's not bad. They're like middle of the pack. And I think middle of the pack is good. If you're going to have a top 3 offense, a middle of the pack defense is good enough. But a lot of that too is Cat on the bench gives you a better defense. Him and Brunson together, that's just not a good offense. Where do they rank in three-point shooting? 3-point percentage, they're third. 3-point makes, which is the stat I care more about. They're fourth behind Golden State, Boston, and Charlotte. So they're a top 3 offense. They're a top 4-ish 3-point shooting team. Rebounding is important. They're the third best rebounding team. So per a lot of the metrics, the Knicks are just extraordinary. When you look at their point differential, they're top 4. So they are checking a lot of the boxes right now. A lot of the boxes of a team that could win a championship. They really do. Efficiency, they're top 8 when you look at true shooting percentage. Yeah, man. Defensive rating, 13. Just hang there at 13. It's not terrible. Hang there at 13. Hang there at 13 and they'll be all right. Hit me up in the chat. Want to hear from y'all. Kevin Zwerker says Knicks don't have a lot to give for a small move, so I think they will look at the buyout market. Yeah, I wonder if Lonzo Ball becomes an option once he gets waived. Lonzo got traded out of Cleveland. He goes to Utah, but the expectation is that he gets waived. Chris Paul goes to Toronto. He'll probably get waived. So is that an option for the Knicks? Gives them some toughness, some veteran leadership off the bench. Someone you're not expecting a ton from, but you just want to have that backup point guard role solidified. And especially, we don't know what's going on with Deuce McBride. It's that time again. Here we go. What does that mean? Untamed. Shout out Untamed. But what does that mean? It's that time again. Here we go. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? What do I think the Bulls are doing? No idea, man. They've got like all the guards in the world. The Chicago Bulls want every single guard the NBA has to offer. Every single guard. It's befuddling to me. They got Sexton yesterday from the Hornets. They got Mike Conley Jr. and Jaden Ivey. The Bulls, what's going on in Chicago? It feels like it wasn't that long ago they had the Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan. It was LaVine, DeRozan. Who's the third guy that I'm forgetting about? That like big three. And they had the number 1 seed in the East. This was 2021. I remember they played the Nets with Harden, Kyrie, and KD and got smoked at home. They were the number 1 seed. Why am I blanking on who the third guy was? It was DeRozan, Zach LaVine, Vucevic? Yeah. Oh, trade deadline time. Yeah, Vucevic. And we thought the Chicago Bulls were going to be that team. They were the number 1 seed at the time, and it just hasn't worked. You think Bron takes a vet minimum and win a champion Cleveland next year? I think it's definitely possible. Definitely possible. All of a sudden, there's a path for the Cavs getting Giannis. But I think of the options available for Bron to finish his career, Cleveland, like the Knicks, make the most sense. I don't think he's taken some veteran minimum to go play in Golden State. That's Steph's team. I don't think he's doing the whole ring chasing thing unless it makes perfect sense. Going back home to Cleveland, going to the Knicks, if they don't land Giannis, that to me makes the most sense for LeBron. Trade deadline time. Thoughts on AD to the Wizards? I'm intrigued, very intrigued, because on paper, and it feels like we got to preface a lot of our Anthony Davis comments by saying, on paper, the Wizards appear to be a very interesting team next season with Trey and with AD and a top 5 pick, whoever that ends up being. They've got some pieces in Washington, and it's also good for the league to start seeing these teams try to win. Like Utah getting Jaren Jackson Jr. He's going to be with Kessler, right? So, like, these bad teams that come into every year and they're like, all right, what's your goal? Our goal is to lose 65 games. Like, it's good to start seeing them turn the page on that. I'm intrigued by it, but ultimately, we've seen both Anthony Davis and Trae Young depreciate as assets, which is why they end up in Washington. And so there's not a lot of confidence I have in them. But they're a fascinating team that if things go the right way, they can be really good next year. Boston needs some guards now. They literally have 2 point guards, Peyton Pritchard and Derek White. It's so funny. Earlier this year, when the Rockets were having their issues at guard, and we thought, oh, man, the Fred VanVleet injury and now Reed Shepherd isn't panning out the way we thought. Could Derek White get traded? And I thought it was so silly. Like, why would it's a great contract he's on. Why would the Celtics trade Derek White? And now the Celtics are awesome. The Celtics are tied with the Knicks for the 2 seed. I wonder if Lonzo Ball, he could be in play for Boston. I wonder if that makes sense. for the Bulls, all on expiring contracts. I think they're planning for the summer. Yeah, the Bulls are always planning for something and it never ends up working out. The Wizards are glass. Yeah, injury issues, as I just talked about. AD doesn't fit their timeline either. Anthony Davis is not that old, man. Anthony Davis is 32, so he's still in the prime of his career. He's not that old. And the Wizards, with Trae Young, a top 5 pick, like that, saying he doesn't fit in their timeline, I don't I don't think it's bad to have a veteran who is still an all-star level player, still a guy who, remember, some folks went on national TV and said the Mavs won the Luka trade. Remember that. People were like, yo, I think the Mavs won the Luka trade. And it was silly, but that team, I think, can be interesting. But health is what it's going to come down. Now, can he win a championship? No. But the Wizards have been bad for so long. At 13-36 right now. They can be very interesting. A chance for Trae Young to build his stock back up. He's fallen off the mat. Remember in 2021, Trae Young was the best player on a team in the conference finals. And since then, it's been all downhill. So I'm intrigued by it. I don't know if it's going to work. And if you want to put your money somewhere, you'd put your money on it not working, because history tells us Anthony Davis just can't play enough games for his team to be any good. But AD had actually started to change that perception about him. And it started to change. Because you go back to, I'm trying to pull it back up here. In 2023, 2024, he played 76 games with the Lakers. 76 games. And it's like, all right, Anthony Davis healthy. He finished 4th in Defensive Player of the Year. He was 2nd team All-NBA. And you're like, all right, AD, here we go. And then next year he played 51 games. So you're like, all right, yep, that's the Anthony Davis we know. So yeah, I'm intrigued by it. I don't know if it's gonna work, but we'll see. Yeah, you're gonna have young cats on the squad. You're gonna have young players on the team. You still need veterans. You still need great players alongside them, is my point. They're very young. Those are still raw talents. And I'm not really a big believer in Sar, but you're still going to need great players and veterans a part of the mix in order for the turnaround to happen. And if you're the Wizards, just similar to like what the Mavs thought, if Anthony Davis can give us 70 games, he's one of the best players in the NBA. So it may not, quote unquote, fit the timeline, but you still need great players. Yeah, it's unlikely he's going to play a lot of games. That's just the reality. And it sucks for Anthony Davis. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's a champion. He helped the turnaround in LA. He also helped the Lakers get Luka Doncic. But I can't imagine. I just don't see you getting older and healthier. But for Washington, hopefully that does end up happening. Hit me up in the comments. Want to hear from you guys. I'm looking at the latest on the NBA trade deadline rumors. Giannis obviously is the biggest name still out there. We'll see what happens. Ja Morant could get moved. So Miami might be interested in him. But we're still waiting for the last of it. We got 5.5 hours left. 5.5 hours left. So I'll hop on again later to chop it up with y'all about the trade deadline. Trae, high pick this year. I talked about that. It's going to be a top 5 pick. Need a vet. AD's a vet, yes, but he's taking up all the cap and he's glass, and they do need vets, but a cheaper one. That's all. So the thing about Washington is you're never going to attract big time free agents. You're gonna have to facilitate those moves via trade, and because of them having a young team, you got Trey's contract, you've got AD's contract, you got all these youngsters on rookie deals, and so you're not going to need that cap space anyway. So you might as well take a shot on these vets, see how good you can be, and then if you decide they're part of your future, you keep them. If not, you flip them, and you hope that they become assets that appreciate over time, because you're buying low right now on Anthony Davis and Trey Young. So that's what they've done. I like it. Again, is it perfect? No, obviously not. But it's the Washington Wizards, and if you can go into a season with some young stars, or not young stars, some young players with potentially high ceilings, a top 5 pick, and 2 all-star level players who are, yes, a little bit older, but still are capable, then I like it. I like it. Huge bust potential. Obviously, huge bust potential. There's a reason why they're in Washington to begin with, but we'll see what happens. Um, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me for the last, how long we been in here? Almost an hour. This was fun. Yo, no juice for the Super. Yo, you guys excited for the Super Bowl? You guys excited for the Super Bowl? Like, what's going on, man? Like, is it just me here in New York not feeling it? Or is there just like no juice for this thing? Because man, like this. We are 3 days away from the Super Bowl. Oh no, you did not hit us with this, Untamed. You see the shirt I'm rocking, my boy? Man, that's wait, are you a Patriots fan? Or are you just rooting for the Pats, hopping on the bandwagon? Are you a fan of a NFC West team, so you want to see the Seahawks lose? Because I'd respect that more. Please, we've been having a nice little fun back and forth, but Untamed, please tell me you're not a Patriots fan. Like you're a Niners fan, Rams. You're okay. You're Boston through and through. Man, that's sad, bro. I appreciated the back and forth. You a nasty Pats fan. Congrats to your owner and head coach getting into the Hall of Fame first ballot. Oh wait, no, they didn't. No juice, even though I'm a Boston fan. Yeah, so what's it? I don't know if you consume like radio and media out there. EEI, just local sports talk, radio and television. Like, are you getting any juice from this Super Bowl? It feels weak. Kevin Zwicker 96 says not enough star power. Hear more about Bad Bunny than the game. Yo, all these people who said they were gonna boycott all these people who said they were going to boycott the NFL back in 2016 somehow are planning to boycott the Bad Bunny concert on or Bad Bunny halftime show on Sunday. So I'm wondering if those guys came back. So you boycotted, you were done with the NFL, but then you came back. So now you're going to boycott again. Like, how does that work? No one's talking about it. It does feel very low key. Yeah, I feel like a lot of the juice this week has come from the NBA trade deadline. Like last week, you understood it's the buy, and we still got a lot before we get to the game. And I'll hop on here to talk some football once we get past the NBA trade deadline, and I'll make my picks and do what I got to do. But it just doesn't feel like it's there. Last year, I mean, we were on 1,000. You had Chiefs going for 3 straight. You had the Eagles, a very hated team, going for their second Super Bowl in 7 years. So there was a lot of hype around that. A lot of hype around that. But this year doesn't feel like, that's the case. Bad Bunny's gonna do some demonic ritual and dip. Oh, so you're one of those dudes, Untamed. Come on, man. You one of those dudes. That's what you're pulling up here with. Bad Bunny's a very talented artist. Very talented artist. He is going to put on a hell of a show. I'm excited for it. My family's Puerto Rican, so I'm looking forward to, kicking it along with them, going with the vibes. Bad Bunny, I heard that the tour he was on, selling out stadiums out in Puerto Rico, here in the US, doing this thing. So I'm looking forward to that. Um, but you in that type of time where you want to try to put that on Bad Bunny, Illuminati and all that. That's what you feeling. Christ is Lord, by the way. Christ is Lord. Jesus Christ, Lord and Savior. Yo, I had a good time with you guys. This was a lot of fun. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. I see you guys weighing in on YouTube. If you're on Twitter, if you're on X, hit me up at Ty D Butler. This was a blast. Love talking sports. You know I love talking basketball. This was a lot of fun. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. And as I am doing every single show, because it's coming up, man, 46 days away from my half marathon. So I gotta plug this. Maybe I should throw this on YouTube so it's of easier access. But 46 days away from my half marathon. So I'm looking for people to donate to a good cause. Um, donate to a good cause. Right here, you can see on my Twitter profile. Go to my Instagram at Ty D Butler. If you want to donate to a good cause, I'm running the 2026 United City Half Marathon on behalf of Sips and Kicks. So they are assisting underprivileged kids, and I'm looking for your help to raise awareness and help fund these programs for them. So click that link. If you go to my Twitter profile, just hit, if you're not on Twitter, type in a Google search, Ty D Butler Twitter. Go to my profile, pin to the top of the profile. You will find this link. We are running for a cause, doing some fundraising, good things out here. If you want to, contribute, that would be a lot of love. I would appreciate you guys. Last comment. If you had a guess, who will do bigger numbers for the halftime show, Bad Bunny or Kendrick? I think it's going to be Bad Bunny. And Bad Bunny is an international superstar. Do not believe the people who are telling you that they are punting on the halftime show, because they are just doing it for theatrics. They are bad actors. Bad Bunny is an international superstar, the biggest Puerto Rican artist in his genre of all time. And, that's going to do numbers. Biggest reggaeton, hip hop, rap star Puerto Rico's ever had. That is going to do a lot of numbers. And I think it's going to be record setting. So I'm looking forward to that. Appreciate you guys. Ty D Butler. Yo, go to the Twitter profile. Actually, I got to add it to my Instagram right now. Got to add it to my Instagram right now. Some of you guys join me on Instagram. Maybe I'll add it to my YouTube page too, just so the link is easily accessible for those looking to donate to a good cause. I want to see y'all pop out. No donation is too small. So come up, pull up. You know the deal. You know the vibes. I'll put it on a page. And then, yeah, I'm looking forward to running this half marathon, 13.1 miles from Prospect Park to Central Park. So I'm looking forward to that. Find it on my Twitter, find it on my YouTube, find it on my Instagram. I'll be back later on, NBA trade deadline at 3:00 p.m. So we'll do a recap of it all, maybe bring on a guest. But shout out to you guys. Hope all is well. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll holla. Deuces.